Good morning, 11C, once again. And today we're going to do the question answers of the chapter Silk Road. So quickly, what is it about? As you all have read, Silk Road, it is an extract of Nick Middleton's travelogue of his journey, which he went to Mount Kailash and Lake Mansarovar. Not only with the purpose of, you can say, performing the Kora, but he wanted to travel on the ancient Silk Route. It was there a very important trade route between India and the other Asian countries, right? So it was very long, treacherous, difficult route, and how difficult it must have been at that time. But still, people, they braved those conditions, they went through those rough terrains, they never gave up, and because it was so important for them, for the merchants, for the people risking their lives to carry out the trade. So we have read about the local culture, about the people there, about their dressing, and yes, about their religious beliefs, isn't it? Then when the narrator reached Hor, what were the things that he noticed over there? It was a small town. He did not find it to be very neat and clean. And yes, it had those salt lakes. And he saw those truckloads full of salt and people piling up the salt in those trucks and wearing their long sheepskin coats and their long boots. And so they were, like putting the salt in the trucks, right? Then we read about what about the, like, and we did the local culture. We talked about the vegetation. There's not much of vegetation at such a high altitude. He's talking about 5,000 meters and all. And about the animals which are there, the local animals which are there, and which is one thing which is very important here. This is a reference of the Tibetan Mastiffs. What are the Tibetan Mastiffs? The very ferocious dogs, and how they chased the narrator, right? So when they were driving by, and how they barked and made sure that the vehicle was out of the reach of their area or out of their, like area. The nomads, they had this dog. And these breed of dogs, they were very popular among the Chinese emperor, the imperial courts had this because of its, yes, ferociousness, and it was used as a hunting dog. Then after Hor, right, the narrator, where did he go? Went to Darchin, and how he was so miserable, he was unable to sleep properly, and he had a bad cold, and on top of it, the high altitude, it made him very difficult to even sleep properly. And he thought that if he lies down, there are chances that he might not wake up again, and his breathing was difficult. So Darchin, the next morning, he goes to the hospital and he gets medicine for himself. The doctor there, they're not looking as he expected a doctor to be, but yes, like a very normal, ordinary person, and he gave him medicine, which he took, and yes, he started feeling better, and that was there on his arrival at Darchin. That then the second day he was able to sleep very peacefully and soundly. It was the effect of the medicine, right? Then, yes, when he reaches Darchin, which is the starting point, like from where the Kora begins, people start doing the parikrama of Mount Kailash. And so he wanted to do that, but he's in for a bit of a shock. He's in for a bit of a surprise. What does he notice? That there are hardly any pilgrims. So he thought that his timing would be perfect. So he planned his whole journey in such a way that I would reach his place when they were pilgrims. And he wanted to see how they performed it. He wanted to be a part of their faith, about in their rituals which they performed. But yes, to his disappointment, there were hardly any pilgrims, so maybe he has reached a little early. So he's thinking of giving up this idea, and then yes, he meets Norbu. Norbu is, yeah, he's a Chinese. He's studying in Beijing. He's come here for some research work. He's written about the Kora, but he has never performed it. So this year he has also come with this intention. And he's a chubby fellow, quite a jovial fellow. He does understand a bit of English. And so they get into conversation, and both of them plan to perform the Kora together. Yes, common link between them is that both of them are not very devout people. They're just, going to do it in the regular way and not, performing by lying down prostrate and getting up and then moving. So it's very difficult if we have to do this whole Quora that way. So yes, so the narrator, like Middleton, he did find a companion with which he could perform the Quora. Okay, right. So is this clear to you all? So Silk Road and all these things here. As I told you, it does not read like any other story. There are no such incidents or something which is there, like going to make it very interesting. And all it is his description. But sometimes when we are aware of it, a very vivid description, at times it makes us if yes, if we've seen that place. And if we have been to similar places, we are able to relate to. Let's go to the question answers now. Please, all of you, just tell me if you're able to see the screen. What's happening? So let's do the question answers. Can you see the screen? Is it visible? No, it's not visible. Wait. Let me share this. Is it visible now? Can you see the questions? Give me a yes or no, please. Yes, the article has been titled Silk Road. Give reasons for the following statements. Can you see the screen? Yes, okay, right, good. So thank you girls for responding. Okay, the article has been titled Silk Road. Why has it been called Silk Road? Yes? Come on, give me the answers quickly. You want to speak? Raise your hand, I'll unmute you. I know you people are sensible enough that you'll be giving answers, not singing songs, right? Why has it been titled Silk Road? Because this is an extract from the journey which the narrator undertook, wanted to travel on the Silk Road, which was an ancient trade route. And Silk Road, why? Because from China to other countries, right, through Tibet and India, and then moving on towards other countries, this is the trade route of silk. So China was there very famous for its silk and how it was sent to other countries and how the trading used to take place. The Tibetan mastiffs were popular in China's imperial courts. Why were they popular? It is because they were very ferocious animals, these dogs there, and because, yes, the way they used to run and chase, so because of that ferocious quality, so they were used in the imperial courts, right? So they were not only for guarding, but even for hunting also. The author's experience at Hor was in stark contrast to earlier accounts of the plague. So 100 years ago, there was a Buddhist monk who wrote about his experience. Then there was a Swedish traveler, his accounts, which the narrator had read, that how beautifully he had described the place. That when he came to this Hor and when he saw the lake, that what was his experience, how he was almost in tears. But to his surprise, when he reached that place, he found it to be very untidy and untaken, like it was neglected and not properly taken care of. So he was very disappointed when he came there. He found it a very miserable place. He found it to be a very sad place. So that is why it was in contrast with what was written. Okay. The author was disappointed with Darchen. Why was he disappointed here? Darchen was where the pilgrimage would begin. Why was he disappointed there? Because he came with the hope that he would be performing the Quora with other pilgrims. But when he came here, he was disappointed that he could not find any pilgrims because he had reached early. Okay, right. The author thought that his positive thinking strategy worked well after all. So like he's there motivating himself that I've come so far and I have to, yes, perform the Korah. I will not go back without doing it. And he's disappointed because at Darchain, he did not see the pilgrims. And now he's wondering how will it happen. So he says, don't give up, think positive. Some thing will happen. And what happens? He meets Norbu. He meets Norbu and both of them decide that they will perform the Korah together. They'll hire yaks and they'll put their luggage on that. And yes, so they will go around. And both of them not very well prepared to, like carrying the required equipment or accordingly here. But they both decided to manage it between the two of them. Now, briefly comment on the purpose of the author's journey to Mount Kailash. To Mount Kailash, yes, because it's a holy place. He wanted to perform the Korah there. The author's physical condition at Darchain. What happened at Darchain? He was unable to breathe properly. He spent a sleepless night. And he felt that if he would lay down, what would happen? He might not be able to get up again. So he was in a very uncomfortable position. Right? So he is talking about that, yes, the next day he went to the doctor and he got medicines and started feeling better. So he had a cold and the high altitude made his condition even bad. The author's meeting with Norbu. So he was in the cafe, he was reading a book. And so Norbu started talking to him and he saw that, yes, he could speak English. And, like when you are there in such an isolated place and you don't find anybody to talk to and someone, if you're able to converse with someone who knows the same language, so we do become a little comfortable, isn't it? So yes, so he met Norbu and he came to know that he's also here for the Korah. And both of them, they decide to take the pilgrimage to perform the Korah together. Seaton's support to the author during the journey. Now, the author, Nick Middleton, he was supported by Seaton, Daniel, right? So Seaton was there, his driver, and Daniel was also there, like helping him. And so Seaton was also his translator and how he helped him on those terrible roads which were there. And so Seaton was a big support. And then he took him to the doctor also. And then he left him that now I have to go to my home, right? So he went to Lhasa. And so Seaton was a big support to the narrator, the writer throughout his journey as a driver, as a guide, as a person who knew about the local culture. And of course, yes, it helped him on these very difficult roads, right? And he was taking proper precautions, how he got the tire, repaired, the puncture repaired. And because the one that they had put was very smooth, would be very risky in the mountainous roads. So Seaton was a big support to him. As a Buddhist, he told me he knew that it didn't really matter if I passed away, but he thought it would be bad for business. So yes, so it is just a passing on from one stage to another. That is there, right? But he thought, for tourists, for the business purpose, it would be bad if something happened to him. So Seaton took him to the doctor and he got medicine and all. And yes, so he started feeling better, right? Now, the sensitive behavior of hill folk. Do you think the hill folk are sensitive? Yes, so they are there, right? Because they come across so many travelers and people there and they do understand. So if there's any problem, they help them. Look how Seaton helped, look how Daniel helped. And we see in the beginning, the lady who was the host, right? How she gave him a sheepskin coat. And told him that if you are going to perform the Korah, you'll be needing this coat here. And yes, so how to make them comfortable. So, right, and Norbu there, making friends, and everybody there, like quite understanding and cooperative, right? Yes, the reasons why people willingly undergo the travails of difficult journeys. Why do people unnecessarily go? I don't know why people want to go on such high mountains and, like just holding your breath. Oh my God, will I take the next turn? Why do they do this? Yes, it is once again adventure, a risk that they want to take. They want to explore new areas. They want to find out about the local culture. They've read about a place and they want to go there. And that is what, it's a short life, I think so. So we should try to take risks. We should try to undertake adventures. and explore new places and new areas. So that is why so people do take these risks, right? Why they go under difficult journey. Yes, you create beautiful memories also. Very nice, Isha. Yeah, it is a sense of adventure and it is fun also. And that fun is questionable in these difficult journeys. What is the fun element? You know, oh God, you're out of breath and you can't walk properly. Where's the fun? Afterwards, maybe like a week later or a month later, you think about, okay, it was not as difficult as it seemed to be. But at that moment, it's very difficult to go through it at sometimes, right? The accounts of exotic places in legends and the reality. So when you go to a place, what do? You read about it, you find about it. Nowadays we read reviews also. Should I go there? Is it really worth it? I'm going to take out time from my busy life. I'm going to spend money also. Is it really worth it going so far? So yes, in the legends, many stories, these beautiful places, they have been described, right? Yes, that is so green and so beautiful, so peaceful, the water so clear and blue. But when we go over there, in reality, what do we find? It is entirely different. The times have changed. The population has multiplied so many times. People have got the means also, right? So people are there, they're having the resources also. They are undertaking adventures. They are undertaking these risks also, right? So they're going over there and going to all these places. But sometimes we are disappointed. Like see here, the author, Nick Middleton, when he went to Hor, how he found that what he had read about the places. Because what had happened to the lake, right? It was a brackish lake now, salty lake. And the salt was taken. And so maybe when those people, they came here so many years ago, it was a beautiful place. But now it was not. And sometimes, yes, we go with lots of hopes, lots of expectations. And then you wonder, what is this? What has happened to this place? We've seen such beautiful pictures. We expect to see greenery. And yes, so like the tree cover or not. But what is it? A bare place? What has happened to it? Right? So reality can be disappointing. So we do come across a lot of disappointments. You go to hill stations and you find, you go there expecting the weather to be very cold and pleasant, but you go there, right? It's still quite warm, right? You went on an adventure trail and yes, but sometimes, yeah, we are in for a surprise also. You read about maybe the road is so broken and bad, but now yeah, we know that how, you know, all these things are changed. We do have a lot of good motorable roads. And there are very many dangerous roads in India, in the hilly areas. Okay. Right? Any doubts, any questions here from this chapter? Anybody? Now, notice the kind of English Seaton uses while talking to the author. How do you think he picked it up? So, you know, when you go to hill stations, you go to places there, tourist spots, which are very popular tourist spots, you come across even the local people there. They have picked up English words. They can speak meaningful sentences which they know that maybe the tourists are going to ask and they might, you know, like are right. So they have picked up. So people coming there, the pilgrims going there, a lot of foreign visitors, right? So they pick up those words, they pick up those languages. So it is there, right? And so like Seaton here, he now how he talks to the author. And so how has he picked it up? From the, yes, from the tourists, from the people they're coming. And so, yes, he must have realized that I need to know this language if I have to survive or if I want to earn a livelihood. We have many people who act as tourist guides when we go to a place. And so they know about the history of that place and they learn a language which many tourists would understand. So they're able to describe the place, they're able to talk to them. And yes, it is a very important means of livelihood. So they have to keep themselves, you know, like aware and, you know, like, yes, learn these words and learn these sentences. What do you think this means? I told her through Daniel. So Daniel was there. understanding the local language. It's cold, he said finally through XI-XII. So it is they're being conveyed. They're speaking in their own language, and XI-XII and Daniel are there translating for him. Right? Yes. So these people, they knew the local language. Which language do you think they spoke over there? Yes. Guess the meaning of these words. So Kora, Drokva, Kyang. So which language do you think these words are found? Yes? Are they found? Which language? Is it Tibetan language? Is it? Find out and let me know. Do some little bit of a homework. Do a little bit of exploration here. Now the narrative here, we have seen that how even in the travel logs, it is not necessarily, it has to be very poetic language, but sometimes the prose is also written in such a beautiful way, describing the clouds, describing the sea, describing the sky, the lake, the water, the mountains, everything can be described so beautifully. A flawless half moon floated in a perfect blue sky. Flawless half moon floating, like just see, so beautifully it has been described. So we have a lot of picturesque phrases in the chapter. Now, can you use this shaggy monsters? Who are the shaggy monsters? Shaggy, hairy monsters. The Tibetan mastiff, the brackish lakes, right? The salty lakes at Hor. Rickety table at Hor, you know, like, yes, so how the waiter came and cleaned the table with a greasy cloth. Rickety, rickety means not stable. Hairpin bend, like a hairpin that bends on the mountain areas, the high altitudes, right? Rudimentary general stores, rudimentary, basic. So the general store, it has very basic stuff. So class, read this chapter again and again thoroughly. And yes, yeah, so you have to go through these questions also. Right.